Okay, welcome to the deep dive. We are jumping into a stack of sources you shared with us, all focused on something incredibly hands-on, something fundamental, the world of making physical things.
It really takes us back to basics, doesn't it? Away from the purely digital, the abstract, and into the tangible world where you work with materials you can actually touch and feel.
Absolutely. So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack what your sources reveal about, well, miscellaneous physical creation.
Hmm.
Think of it as all that wonderful making that happens off screen, using actual physical stuff. We want to figure out exactly what falls into this category, maybe challenge some of those common ideas people have about it.
Yeah, the assumptions.
Exactly. And get to the heart of why these specific crafts offer such unique and deep rewards.
Sounds good. Let's dive into this material and see what insights jump out about getting our hands dirty and, bringing something new into the world.
So starting with what your sources actually define, they make a great point early on. Not all creation needs a screen or a page or even a traditional canvas.
No, definitely not. Some of the most uh, profoundly satisfying creative processes are entirely tactile. You're using your hands.
Right, and what the sources seem to mean by miscellaneous physical creation is this huge umbrella, really, of hands-on activities. It's surprisingly diverse when you look at the examples they give.
Oh, totally. You've got woodworking, which covers like everything from just whittling a simple spoon
Yeah.
to tackling building a whole set of shelves, a big range.
Then there's sewing and embroidery, whether you're doing intricate hand stitching, maybe just repairing a favorite shirt, or actually designing and making clothes from scratch.
hmm And papercraft is a big one too. Things like origami, making your own cards, scrapbooking, even building really detailed paper models.
Right. And model building itself, that's a whole world, isn't it?
Wow.
Miniatures, working from kits, creating dioramas, doll houses.
Yeah, building these little detailed worlds. It's fascinating.
Plus, other crafts like sculpting with clay, making your own candles, maybe some leather work. The list goes on, but they all share this core idea.
And what ties them together, as your sources point out, is this blend of uh, technical process learning how to actually work the material
Okay.
with creative intent, and the result.
Yeah.
It's a real-world object, something you can hold, see, use, or give to someone.
And the sources correctly identify an initial hurdle for a lot of people. These kinds of crafts often have this reputation, don't they, for being really complex or expensive.
Yeah, that can feel pretty intimidating.
Exactly, that perception is a common barrier. But the material you provided spends a good amount of time tackling that head on, showing that actually many people are discouraged by myths that aren't quite accurate.
Let's look at that first one then.
Huh.
The idea that it's inherently difficult or costly to get started.
Right. What do the sources say about that?
Well, they're pretty clear that perception isn't always true. The reality is there are just so many accessible and rewarding entry points that don't require a huge investment.
Okay, like what?
They give examples that really drive this home. You can grab papercraft kits at a dollar store sometimes. You can get beginner wood burning tools without breaking the bank. There are loads of affordable ways to just dip your toe in.
That's encouraging.
And the beginner tips offered are fantastic. Start with small, guided kits. Lots are under $20. Lean on simple video tutorials online. YouTube is just full of them.
Right.
Find beginner groups or communities for support, maybe online or local. And this is crucial. Don't put pressure on yourself to create like a perfect heirloom your first time out.
Yeah, that seems key.
Just start with practice objects, things you're just trying out techniques on. Learn the feel of it.
That idea of just practicing and learning takes away so much of the initial pressure, doesn't it? Then there's the other big myth, the space myth. Needing a full-on garage workshop or a dedicated sewing room.
Oh, yeah. Again, the reality is you really don't need a lot of space for many of these things.
So how does that work?
Well, you can store papercraft or small model kits neatly in a bin, right? Sewing can begin with just a needle and thread, or even one of those basic handheld machines that tucks into a drawer.
Okay.
And smaller wood projects. They can start with simple hand tools and maybe even scrap wood you find or get for free. You don't need a bandsaw straight away.
So it's more about organization.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
really about smart organization and using the space you have efficiently. A corner of a desk, a drawer, maybe a portable craft caddy you can put away. It's more about planning than actual square footage.
Right. And a key takeaway the sources seem to emphasize throughout is that progress in these crafts comes from repetition and practice,
Yes.
not from aiming for instant perfection. Your early attempts are part of the learning curve, not failures.
Absolutely. Moving beyond just the finished object, though, Your sources really shine a light on the deeper, often quite profound, payoffs of making things with your hands.
Yeah, this is where the psychology gets really fascinating. Tactile creation engages your body and mind together in this really unique way.
It absolutely builds patience. I mean, you can't rush material that needs time to dry, or glue that needs to set, or stitches that need to be uniform.
True.
And it definitely hones your attention to detail because those small, precise movements really matter.
And what's particularly interesting is how it can induce that meditative flow state. People talk about that a lot.
They do.
Yeah.
Because you're focused on the physical steps, on what your hands are actually doing. It's easier to get completely absorbed and just lose track of time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a powerful activation of the reward system in your brain. Not just from finishing, but from the tactile feedback itself. The feel of the material, the physical act of shaping it.
So the process itself is rewarding.
Yes, your sources put it beautifully.
Uh,
You're not just making something, you're also becoming something, maybe more focused, more grounded, more self-reliant. It's like the process itself shapes you.
I love that idea. And these hobbies also have this wonderful connection to sustainability and upcycling, promoting genuinely positive environmental habits.
Yeah, that's a great point they make. They encourage you to reduce waste and actively think about reusing materials you might otherwise just throw out.
Your sources give great examples here. Small wood scraps that might be tossed can become parts of toys or little picture frames.
Right. Or old clothes can be turned into bags, patches, or entirely new items. Cardboard boxes and plastic packaging find new life as components in models or dioramas.
It really fosters a mindset of repair over simply replacing things, doesn't it?
It does. You shift from being just a passive consumer to actively engaging with the life cycle of objects, giving them second lives, sometimes third lives.
And there's an inherent beauty in that, taking something overlooked or discarded and crafting new meaning into it through your own effort. That feels incredibly satisfying.
Definitely. Now, your sources don't just talk generally about these ideas. They get really practical, offering concrete examples of how to actually start in different specific areas.
Okay, good.
This is where it gets really actionable if you're listening and thinking about trying one of these out.
Okay, let's look at some specific starting points the material suggests. For woodworking, for example.
They recommend starting with whittling. It sounds old-fashioned, but all you need is a basic craft knife and some soft wood, like basswood.
Yeah.
You can follow beginner tutorials online for simple things like small birds or even just shaping tool handles. Or start with basic builds like birdhouses or tool caddies, using just sandpaper, glue, and clamps. You definitely don't need power tools right away.
That sounds manageable. What about sewing or fiber arts?
Learn basic stitches first, just an embroidery hoop and thread. Try hand sewing simple felt toys perhaps, or practice visible mending on clothes you already own that's really popular now.
Right.
A basic machine can come later, once you feel comfortable with the basics, if you even want one.
And for papercraft and models?
Origami kits or printable templates are fantastic entry points. Super low cost. You can find specific build guides on YouTube or communities like Reddit for things like complex Gundam models or architectural scenes if you get ambitious. And a clever tip they mention is to keep an odds and ends drawer specifically for useful scraps of paper, card, or plastic bits you come across.
Resourceful. And things like clay or wax.
Air dry clay is super easy to start with, no kiln needed. Beginner candle making kits or simple DIY soap molds are also very accessible. The key is to start with single object goals, focus on making just one good charm, one decent bar of soap, or one tea light candle. Small wins.
Right. And crucially, alongside these specific techniques, your sources really emphasize the importance of the beginner mindset.
Yes, this is huge. It's about letting go of the need for perfection right away. You have to embrace the charm, maybe even the wonkiness of your first attempts.
It's part of the process.
Exactly. Find joy in the sensory experience, the touch of the clay, the texture of the fabric, the smell of the wood. Focus on the small wins. That first straight stitch you manage, a joint that holds perfectly, a shape that finally comes together how you wanted.
And maybe take pictures.
Yeah, documenting your progress can also be really motivating, seeing how far you've come. These hobbies build resilience and skill gradually over time. The sources are spot on. You must let yourself be a beginner. It's okay.
So zooming out a bit, what makes these particular crafts so special, according to the sources? They point to unique qualities like inherent slowness.
Yeah, many physical processes simply cannot be rushed. You have to wait for things.
And there's constant problem solving involved, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Every project throws up little puzzles you have to figure out how to fix or overcome. How do I make this join work? Why isn't this sitting right?
You learn precision and patience through that. You start to appreciate the value of careful measurement, deliberate movement, and finding a good rhythm in your work.
Hmm. And they often result in something tangible that lasts. There is a potential for creating a physical legacy, even a small one.
Your sources suggest many people describe these hobbies as a return to an intimacy with effort, that direct connection between the work you put in and the physical result you get back.
Exactly. And unlike many purely expressive creative hobbies, these often lead to items that are not just artistic, but also genuinely useful.
That utility adds another layer of satisfaction for sure, and it ties into crafting as a form of connection, especially through gift giving. Handmade items carry a unique emotional weight.
They really do. A simple hand-sewn pouch or a card you crafted yourself just means something different than something you just bought off the shelf.
Gifts become imbued with stories. It's, I made this for you, which speaks to time, effort, and personal thought in a way a mass-produced item just can't replicate.
And even if they're not perfect, maybe especially if they're not perfect, they communicate intentionality and care in a way that feels increasingly rare. That meaning is something that truly can't be mass-produced.
Yeah, that's a powerful point.
Yeah.
Your sources also do a good job of directly addressing some of those common doubts people might voice when thinking about trying these
Right,
crafts.
the objections, like the classic, I don't have time or space.
Yeah, what's the counter to that?
The response is practical. Focus on ultra-portable crafts. Think origami, embroidery, working with polymer clay. You absolutely can make something small and complete in under 30 minutes if you choose the right project.
Okay. What about, I'm not good with tools or I'm just clumsy?
The sources remind us that everyone starts somewhere. Nobody picks up a chisel perfectly the first time. Use pre-cut kits or projects that rely more on glue and assembly than complex tools initially. Skill is built over time, one attempt at a time.
That makes sense. Then the objection, it's not useful. We touched on this, but
Right, but as we discussed, many handmade things are practical shelving, repaired clothes, functional gifts. And besides, usefulness isn't just about function. The emotional or aesthetic value is also a form of usefulness. It brings joy or beauty.
true. And finally, it's too slow or messy.
And as your sources highlight, for many people that's precisely the point. Physical creation invites you to deliberately slow down, to focus, to get lost in the process.
Kind of an antidote to the fast pace of everything else.
Exactly. And mess. Often, mess is simply a sign that you're actively engaged in making progress. It's part of the journey, not some kind of failure state.
We've taken a pretty deep dive then into your source material on miscellaneous physical creation, really exploring what it is, challenging those initial perceptions, and uncovering the rich psychological and practical rewards that come from working with your hands.
Yeah, and as the sources beautifully emphasized, there's something profoundly human about the act of making physical things, shaping wood, joining fabric, folding paper. These crafts offer a unique way to reconnect with the physical world, with the value of effort, and with the satisfaction of a tangible process.
They don't require perfection, just participation. They just have to be yours.
Absolutely. Start small. Pick something simple from the examples we discussed, maybe something that just sparks your curiosity. Just touch the world, engage with materials, and shape something with your own hands.
This deep dive really raises an important question, I think, for you to consider. In a world that feels increasingly digital and, well, intangible, what is that unique value, that specific kind of meaning that you can only find in the process of creating something physical and real?